mute the sound on it. Okay, we're going live. So if you're on the stream, you should be seeing us now. We're going to talk a little bit about Google Hangouts today. And Nicole, would you like to start?
Sure. Hi, I'm Nicole Decker. I work in the IT department here at SUNY-Oswego, and was part of the team that just implemented Google Hangouts for our university. And this was something that we did because Google previously announced they'd be replacing Google Talk, Google Plus Hangouts, and Google Plus Messenger with a new Google Hangouts. So as of March 4th, we're happy to announce that Hangouts is available within our Laker Apps domain, which is our locally dubbed Google Apps for Education.
We're having some Wi-Fi issues here. Okay, maybe if we could talk a little bit about how to activate it, that should work.
Sure. For people at the SUNY-Oswego domain, there's the easiest way to activate it is through the chat functionality. So if you've used chat before, it's usually on the left-hand side of the Gmail window. And if you click on the down arrow next to your picture in the chat area, you should have an option that says try Hangouts, try the new Hangouts. And
you should be seeing it on your screen if everything's working.
And you just select that. And what will happen is the Google chat icon, just a circle with a quotation mark in it, will be at the bottom of your chat window. And if you click on that, that's where you can really start using the Hangouts. And so you can start searching for people's names, and you can have a Hangout or video. You can do either, actually. You can still use it as chat, and it kind of nicely organizes the conversation better than the original chat did. Or you can use it to make video calls, and that's free and safe. And for Google Apps for Education, you can have up to 15 people in the video call. And that piece is a little different than if you used Hangouts with your personal Gmail before. I believe that's up to 10 people.
Yes.
So Google Apps for Education allows us to and there's a few ways, so that's how you can activate it easily within our Laker Apps domain. Once you've activated it, you can use it in Gmail. You can use it in Calendar as well. So actually, when you go to a calendar invite, there'll be all of the options for when you want the meeting, what time, description. But you'll now also see something that says video call. And if you click on that, that will allow you to start a Hangout right from the site. There's also a Chrome web browser extension. That's actually what I'm using. I'm using a Chromebook right now, and I'm using the extension available within the Chrome browser. There's also a g.co/hangout shortcut you can use right in the browser. And there are apps available for Android devices as well as the iOS devices. And what's really nice is, especially before we went live, we tested the functionality out between the desktop version and the mobile device version. Google talks about how seamless it is, verified, and it works really well. So I was in a Hangout session and seeing things on my phone, and when I typed in something, I could also see them on my browser on the desktop. So it is to go in between places.
Okay, one of the nice things about Google Hangouts is when you're doing just a regular Hangout through your college account, if you have multiple people connected, what will occur basically is whoever is speaking the loudest at the time will have the main window directed to them. So if things are working correctly, you should see the camera switching back and forth between Nicole and I when either of us was talking. Although that may not be entirely working there because we're just using one microphone because we're in the same. And we have Sadiq there.
Hi, Sadiq.
Hello. Hi.
And his window should pop up as the main one when you're viewing it, I'm hoping. We're having a little trouble downloading the Cameraman app because we're using a scheduled Hangout. It's a little bit different. But typically what would happen is a window would go back and forth among whoever's speaking at the time. And that makes it really nice so you can see who the person is who's talking. Now, let's talk a little bit about some of the things this could be used for in education. You know, students do a lot of work on group projects in many classes, and this could really facilitate that. That's especially useful for those working with COIL courses, as long as some of the partners aren't in China. It's a really nice way for students to get in touch with each other, to work collaboratively. What people will sometimes do is they'll open up a Google Hangout in one window or on one device, and they'll be working in Google Drive on others so that they can video chat while they're editing the document, which is a nice way of doing joint work. So you're talking about what you're doing while you're making the changes. And you know, it's much nicer to see the other person rather than just seeing the text, because text can easily be misinterpreted, and it's a whole lot faster to say things than it is to type things, and you can get immediate feedback. It's really good in collaborative projects when faculty are working together. I've worked with people in putting together, for example, conference proposals when we're working on a paper, and we'll use a Hangout or something similar while we're putting together the proposal for a session or for an abstract for a paper. Did this with one of my colleagues for a presentation for CIT. We were talking over a video chat while writing it up together and seeing the document at the same time. In terms of class use, it's a really nice way of having guest speakers come in. You could even bring in a panel of speakers where you have 3 or 4 people making a presentation in your class, and the camera will automatically switch to whoever's speaking at the time. And it's also a good way to run online office hours. Making it a little bit more powerful is if the instructor creates a personal account outside of the oswego.edu domain, because in the domain we don't have YouTube or Google Plus because of issues with the SUNY contract and so forth. But all that's really required is that one person have an account outside. And if you have an account outside of this, you can go to I don't want to jump over right now, but on Google Plus, there's a page called Hangouts on Air. And when you do that, when you go to that page, you have the option of either beginning a Hangout on Air immediately or beginning it at a scheduled time. What we're participating right now is a Hangout on Air that was scheduled about 3.5 days ago. And when you specify the name, the title, and when you want it to begin and how long it is, and you link it to a YouTube account, and then the event will be live streamed on YouTube at the same time. So if you wanted to do a webinar, for example, you could use Google Hangouts. And now that it's activated in the college domain, students can use their personal accounts to connect to that, either by watching the video stream or by asking to be invited into the activity. And you have a number of options with this. One is you can do polling. There's a nice little polling tool on the side where you can ask people to post questions, and then you can respond to the questions. And the questions will show up on a sidebar, and the person presenting or the person moderating the presentation can click on the selection with the question, and it will put in basically a bookmark into the video so that people watching it can immediately go to where the question was answered. If anyone is connecting through Google Plus, I think you have that option there. You may have that on the YouTube page too, I'm not positive, but you'll have to be logged in through a private account to do that. But it's a nice option if you're doing a webinar or a scheduled presentation. It could be really handy as well for online office hours. We have the option of using Collaborate within Blackboard or Angel for that. but Google Hangouts is probably even easier to do. There's fewer controls, and you have desktop sharing, so you can anything you could do on a desktop to answer a question, you can just call up very quickly and easily by just clicking on a button and sharing it with the participants. So let's open it up to any questions. Or Sadiq, would you like to say something?
Actually, not my first time. I used that before. For example, we had the Google team meeting, which is all board members outside the Oswego and the Buffalo and Niagara and lots of places. We don't have chance to come together and meet and use the Google Hangout. And the nice thing, first time I used when the video switches to person, so I really love that.
Yeah, we're having a little problem with the camera switching. On scheduled ones, you're able to control that, and I think we're getting some feedback where the microphone is picking up the sound and it's looping back and forth. It normally doesn't toggle like that. It's because I think we're broadcasting it through a TV here, and we're having some. Normally, when you download the Cameraman app, it takes about 10 seconds. I've tried it now for probably 3 or 4 minutes at various times. So we're having some sluggish Wi-Fi issues, I think. When you do a scheduled Hangout on air, not only do you have the option of letting it toggle, but you have the ability to locking in a particular presenter, which is a little bit nice if you're doing something like this. But the automatic switching generally works very well, especially if people are using headsets and microphones, so you don't get a feedback loop where it's picking up the sound from 2 sources with a slight delay and causing it to toggle as it was probably doing on your screen.
I think this is going to be great for the professors, especially Oswego when we have this window time when someone can come to the class, they can hopefully use the Google Hangout and see the classes and ask questions. So kind of online interactive classes versus the true online classes. So I definitely see the great benefit for the students and the professors.
One of the ways in which that reminds me, one of the ways in which I first heard this being used in class was a presentation actually at a COIL conference 2 years ago, where the instructor or the presenter was talking about how he had used text checks in his classes, and students were generally not very engaged. They didn't say a whole lot. Many of them just copied what the first posters had said in the discussions, and generally students weren't very happy about the level of interaction in the text discussions. And the instructor wasn't very happy about that either. So he introduced Google Hangouts that were actually linked to YouTube with a personal account and with private shares. And basically, he broke the students up into groups where they conducted a weekly discussion in groups of 4 or 5. And they did it with a Google Hangout that they then sent him a link to, and he was able to view the discussions. And he noted that students were much more engaged in the discussion. They said 50 to 100 times more than they did when they were posting in a text discussion. And they ended up saying that they got to feel more a part of the class community. So overall, their rating of the class was significantly higher when this was used because, you know, there's real time. Because they were small groups, people were able to arrange conferences at their own time, and the instructor could view them at their own time as well. So, that could be another useful part, as Sadiq suggested, with more online classes as a way of doing either small group collaborations or possibly even doing some discussions.
John, I never tried that. Can you record Google Hangout discussion?
Could you repeat that?
Can you record Google Hangout discussion or video chatting?
Okay, you can if you start it outside of the Oswego domain, because in order to record it, it records to YouTube, which means you have to have a YouTube account connected to your email address. So right now I'm using my personal Gmail account to do that. But an instructor, for example, could create, if you have 5 groups in a class, all the instructor would have to do is download the email addresses of the students, create 5 scheduled Hangouts, and invite each of the groups of students in that group to that Hangout, and then you could repeat that event. So you can record it, but it has to be done outside of us. You can't initiate the recording from an oswego.edu account. It has to be done from a personal account. But the students could have their participation recorded, but they can initiate a scheduled one from an Oswego account.
Okay. Thanks.
Any other discussion, comments?
I have a question of clarification. So if you started the discussion, you record it, who's distributed to you?
Yes. Yeah, with the Oswego, and that was one of the main barriers before, because in order to use it with a COIL collaboration or in order to use it for any sort of discussions, students would have to create their personal accounts, and you would have to get their personal Gmail account name to add them to this. Now that we can do it from an Oswego account, it opens that up much more easily. So, because before, if students tried to connect, they would say that this is not allowed by your domain administrator, and basically they'd have to log out and then log back in. Now, we can join a Hangout offered by anyone. Actually, the first time I saw Google Hangouts used in education was when I took a MOOC in behavioral economics a couple of years ago with Dan Ariely at Duke. And he was doing a couple of weekly Hangouts with participants where he used a question and answer app. People would vote on them and they get bumped up, and then he'd invite some of the people who asked the questions into the live chat, and then 10 or 12,000 other people watched on through the YouTube stream while he was doing the presentations, and his TAs would be there assisting with it as well, and it worked remarkably well. Other questions? And I think if you're connected to YouTube, you should be able to post some questions, and we should see them come up, but I'm not seeing any if there are any. I'm a little bit new on this. This is only my second scheduled one, but looks like we have 2 people watching the video stream right now. It's all free. Yes. Yeah. Basically, what happens is I sent out a link to the YouTube stream in email to people. Well, I posted it on the Facebook group, and I sent it in email too, maybe not. But it's on the Oswego CELT account, and people could either watch it through there, which is just a link to the YouTube stream, basically, or they could connect. But you don't have to have an account to watch it. You have to be logged in, though, with a private account, the personal account, if you want to comment on it. That's a restriction that YouTube put in about a year ago, that Google put in on YouTube accounts, partly to get more people signing up for Google+. Other questions, comments, or suggestions? Anyone here?
John, you're going to show these features on the left side, right? Are you going to show these features on the left side, like showcase and share the screen share?
Okay, I can try doing that. There's a little problem, though, which is that we're going to get an infinite loop, I think. But let's try that. We'll do a screen share, and let's maybe try this and see if that won't. Yeah, we're going to get a little bit of an infinite loop here, but we can talk about the options here. On the left-hand side, if you're doing a scheduled Hangout, you get a few more tools. You only, I think, get basically the screen share and the chat thing for text chat if you're doing a regular Hangout. If you're doing a scheduled Hangout, you get a few more. You get the chat option where you can type text chat in. You got the screen share tool. Those are the same. You also have a showcase where you can share files, so you can upload files to everyone who's there, or send a URL. Actually, I think it's just a URL to people there. And what they encourage you to do is to send shares to the Google documents, to a Google Drive document to share with people. But there's also here in a scheduled Hangout, or Hangout on Air, you have the question and answer app where you can turn that on and off. You have a capture app which can do a screen capture at any time during the presentation. You have a draw tool which lets you draw on the people on the screen. We don't need to do that. But it'll draw on their faces, and then when they move their face, it will follow. So you could draw, I think if you notice, it looks like a mustache. So you could draw a mustache on people, and as their face moves, the mustache moves with them. You also have Google Effects where you can put like a hat on someone, or glasses, or something similar. I guess I can call that up and you can see that. We're having some really slow, there we go. So you get these little things. So you can put, I guess I'll put one of them on. I don't know. I'll put a crown on there. And now when you see me again, there should be a crown, maybe. And normally there is there's this Cameraman app, but we're having trouble downloading it. It seems to be timing out. But what the Cameraman app does when you're doing a schedule hangout is it gives you the ability to toggle who's on the screen. So you can lock in a presenter so it's not jumping back and forth when you have people scheduled. There's also a control room app that will let you eject people, because if this is a public hangout, which this is, people could join in and just suddenly be part of it. In this case, 10, because this is done with a personal account. But you can bump someone out if they start, being a troll or whatever. And it also gives you, let's see if that will load. If this load, it also gives you the ability to adjust the volume levels. So if someone's mic level is low, you can raise the volume. Or if someone is distorting a bit because they have the mic turned up too high and you get a little overdrive, you can lower the volume. And that doesn't seem to be loading. It works better if you're on a wired connection. And I guess that's about it in terms of these sidebar tools, but they can be pretty effective, or they work generally pretty well. Oh, which one? You could chat. So yeah, we could call up a chat screen here, and this is basically the old Google Talk. So we could type, we could type messages here as a sidebar. So if someone's microphone wasn't working, they could always join the chat that way. So Nicole and I have just joined that. And we're not able to. This all worked yesterday fine, but we're running out. But I was on a wired connection yesterday on campus. Now, if you do this from pretty much anywhere else, so off campus, it generally works. I do this from home all the time. Well, not in scheduled hangout, but the Wi-Fi in the library tends to be a little bit slower. We'll get back so we don't get that infinite loop there. And there we go. And at the top of the screen, we also have the ability to add people, to mute the microphone, to turn cameras on and off, and so on, or to end the call. And there's that little crown. And it's a little laggy, but it kind of moves with you as you. And let's turn that back off. Again, that probably isn't the most useful tool, available, but they have fun at Google. Yeah. And I'm waiting for that tool to reload so I can remove the little crown. And maybe I'm kind of stuck with it. Okay. So while I'm waiting for the tool to load again, does anyone have any questions? Okay. I'm not sure why that's not loading. No recent app. So it's gone away as a tool. Oh, yeah, well, the pencil tool is kind of the same sort of thing. What you can do is you can draw things, So you can draw like new glasses there, and they kind of move with the person, But again, we don't really. And then you can And then if you click on this, it'll remove it. But unfortunately, it doesn't seem to get rid of the crown. And that seems to be locked in there. Oh, so there are other apps you can load as well, but we'll leave that. Including a remote desktop app. I just clicked on the More app option. So conceivably, this could be used for technical support for someone if they're running Gmail, because Gmail has a remote desktop service too. So maybe you guys have Bongar for that, but I really want to get rid of that hat. Okay. So, and the tool's not even listed anymore.
Well, I think when you had like the infinity camera, like I think that's where you specifically.
So it was with the screen share, but that shouldn't matter. But we can try it. Let's go back to the screen share just to see. This was the one we were on. Okay, and we'll present to everyone again, and then we're going to try calling the app up, and it's still not there. So it's not going to let me get rid of that. It was under effects, which just aren't there anymore.
Wait,
oh wait,
Google Effects.
We're
the last one.
Right under the. Oh, I was clicking on the wrong button, which is why. So I can now click on that, and it should be gone. Okay. So yeah, we didn't need to call it up. What you need to do is actually click on the right button, and you know, this. I've used Google Hangouts a fair amount, but I haven't used these tools like the Crown tool. Oh no, so it's going to do something again. Let's turn off the. Okay, so any other questions or comments or suggestions on how this could be used in instruction? We've got a few people here in person. One other nice thing about doing this is if you're going to do a webinar presentation or even, you know, a workshop presentation, if you stream it through here, it gets posted in YouTube. And with YouTube, you also have the auto captioning service. So you have to go through manually and fix it. And, you know, it's often only 40 to 50% accurate, but that's still better than 0%. So you can go in and edit the transcript so that it's it's cleaner if you stream someone through here. So it helps you meet accessibility guidelines and so forth with videos that you post. Okay, I guess we're probably done, unless anyone has any questions. Okay, so all we have to do is stop the broadcast.